Bonjour! Wow, ça fait longtemps. It's been a long time, and today we're gonna dive into la cérémonie d'ouverture, which is the opening ceremony of the Olympics. A lot of people criticize it. Il y a eu beaucoup de critiques, but I'm not just here to talk about the ceremony itself, but mostly les phrases en français that we saw during the opening ceremony. You must have seen some words and some phrases, so let's go through them. Tout d'abord, firstly, I want to say that it was definitely an opening ceremony for the books. On va s'en souvenir pendant très longtemps. We're gonna remember it for a long time. Mais personally, ma partie favorite, c'était à la fin, quand Céline Dion chante sur la Tour Eiffel. When Céline Dion is singing on top of the Eiffel Tower, it was such like a moving scene, and you could even hear la journaliste, the journalist, was crying like at the end. That's how emotional it was. And if you know what she's been through and her sickness for stiff syndrome, it's very, very touching. C'était très beau. Et l'hymne à l'amour is one of my favorite songs, mes chansons favorites de Edith Piaf. So when you have time, go ahead and have a listen to that song, the original one as well. C'était super beau à entendre. It was beautiful to listen to. So les Jeux Olympiques, la cérémonie d'ouverture, in the opening ceremony, there were these 12 tableaux, these 12 paintings that had the text. For copyright reasons, I cannot put these images and I cannot put these videos because the Olympic Committee is very strict about copyright. I know this because I had a video on a reel recently taken down, so let's get into it. So the first one we have is enchanté. Enchanté, which means nice to meet you in French. And this is a nice way to be able to start and to be able to connect with the audience and tell you enchanté. Most of you know who have watched, this was all taken sur la Seine, sur 6 kilomètres, on 6 kilometers. And it's crazy to see crazy to see all the hundreds and thousands of performers and dancers and athletes that were there, as well as fans. There were huge heads along the bank, like sur la Seine, and they represented like very famous people en France. Like for example, there was Jeanne d'Arc, Joan of Arc, there was Josephine Baker, there was Marie Curie, and the fictional character Arsène Lupin de ma série favorite from my favorite series. So they were going along those, and it was so beautiful to see that along the Seine. And who was holding the torch? It was kind of like a masked torchbearer. On voyait pas son visage. We couldn't see his face, but he was carrying the torch all along Paris and passing it down. And it was really crazy because there are actually like a few meanings behind his person. There's him representing le fantôme de l'opéra, which is one of the famous French operas en France. And there's also Assassin's Creed, the video game, which is also inspired from there, and that was made in France. Our third tableau is synchronicité. 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 So here is the first part. We could see dancers scaffolding above the Notre Dame, because as some of you know, in 2019 it was a really crazy fire that ruined, and almost the Notre Dame was in fire, and this was such a heartbreaking sequence for French people. I still remember when my grandfather was very sad to see her like burning on TV, and also when the spire fell, it was very heartbreaking. So it's kind of to show all of the people and all of the work that was put behind, and all of the builders and all of the engineers that are working sur la Tour Eiffel and all the works that's behind it. So it needs synchronicity because they need to all work together at the same time. The dance itself was really beautiful. C'était magnifique. I think I have so much respect for the dancers who were hanging onto ropes and who were dancing in like all types of positions, so many meters above the ground. C'était super beau à voir. And then we could see like a little figure clinging to the spire of Notre Dame, et cette référence, c'est Quasimodo, so the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Next, we have favorite word en français. It's part of our slogan, liberté. liberté is liberty, right? Freedom. C'est très important pour les personnes en France. It's one of the founding things that make French people French people. Ils ont besoin de la liberté. Whether it's la liberté d'expression, the freedom to express yourself, la liberté d'être soi-même, to be yourself. And so this was very a central point de la cérémonie d'ouverture. To highlight the work of a very famous writer, c'était Victor Hugo. So one of the most important French writers from the 19th century. And there was the torchbearer. He took us through a scene from which there was Les Misérables. Next tableau, we have Ça ira, means it will be fine. And I think especially now with all the problems, whether it's political, economical, environmental, social, we need to have these words in our life. Ça ira means it will be fine. And then during this time, we had a very special symbolic song. This was sung by choir members dressed as Marie Antoinette, so the last queen, before the French Revolution, and she was beheaded in 1793, and it was interesting to see them sing and dance to this while she was beheaded. Une chanteuse d'opéra, there was an opera singer accompanied by one of the most famous French heavy metal bands. Personnellement, je suis pas très fan du métal. I'm not the biggest fan of metal music, but I thought it was such an interesting way to highlight this famous group called Gojira, and they went to the US with no advertisements and nothing, and they did all sold out shows. So afterwards, we saw the torchbearer go through the halls of Le Louvre, and he ran in front of several paintings, which you probably recognize some of them, and they would come to life. So there was La Rafte de Méduse, the Raft of Medusa, and La Coronation de Napoléon, the Coronation of Napoleon. Barry, il a découvert que la peinture de la Mona Lisa disappeared. So the Mona Lisa had disappeared, and this is big to represent that the one that was painted by Leonardo da Vinci was stolen between 1911 and then it was found in 1913. And to show this sequence, so we discovered that la Mona Lisa a été volée par les mignons. And mignons are the minions, so they stole the Mona Lisa for fun, and it's also to show to a lot of people who don't know that Les Mignons is created by Pierre Coffin, who's the co-director of Despicable Me, the movies. And a lot of people don't know that he's actually French. And he actually doubles the minions himself. C'est trop marrant. It's so funny. And so it's great to highlight his work. He's a French-Indonesian director and creator, and it's so good to be able to see that his work is shown to the world. And then later on, we see the 10 gold statues emerging from the Seine, which is highlighting the women that had so much impact pour la France. Going into these words of representing these women, we had sonorité, which means sisterhood, and on the other side, we had fraternité. Fraternité is brotherhood. So it's so cool that they use sisterhood and brotherhood. After that, we had sportivité. Sportivité kind of shows sportsmanship, sportiness, and fair play, to show that la sportivité, it's important, especially during les Jeux Olympiques. And then we had obscurité, which is one of my favorite scenes because obscurité is also showing obscurity, darkness, but that we can find a light, une lumière dans l'obscurité. And this is one of my favorite scenes, is when they were playing and singing on the piano, which was lit up by the fire. Then we have solidarité. Solidarité is solidarity, so French people standing together as one. C'est très important that you're united by a nation, and because of all the political stuff, it may have not seemed like the case, and that's why they found it very important to show this part. And then we have something a little more festive where we had a lot of dancers. Ça, c'était avec la festivité. Festivité is festivity, so kind of embodying happiness, embodying creativity, and just being able to celebrate And then, which is one very important point during this cérémonie d'ouverture, is unis dans la diversité. So, unis dans la diversité is united in the diversity. And I think that's what this show really wanted to be able to tell people, is that although we are different, we are all made different, we have different beliefs, we have different views, we have different feelings, we have different ways to react to things, we still need to be united dans la diversité. And I think that's why I really like people who learn about cultures, who learn about languages, who are open to so many things and trying things and being open-minded, is because I think that we are all different. We were all born in different places. We were all made differently, but we need to be able to support each other and be able to accept each other. It doesn't mean that, we need to be best friends, but I think we need to be more understanding and more kind. I think c'est la clé. It's the key to making a better world. So it goes into the last one, which is ensemble unis pour la paix. So together, united for peace. And I think this particularly resonates now where there's war going on in the world. It's kind of for the countries and for sportsmanship to be able to unite ourselves and be able to promote peace and live in peace together. This is the message that cette cérémonie d'ouverture de la France wanted to show, is yes, there were parts that not everyone agrees with. There were parts that some people criticize more than the others. But I think at the end of the day, like having a show promoting sportsmanship, promoting something that really unites people, que tout le monde soit uni, je pense que le sport peut faire ça. I think sport can do this. I think sport can unite people, can support each other, can encourage others, and it's a great way to be uni, to be united. Let me know your thoughts on the opening ceremony and let me know what were your favorite parts. I'd rather know about the positive parts or the things that you enjoyed, because I think we do not need more negativity or more hate in the online world. Dis-moi dans les commentaires. Let me know in the comments, and also let me know if you want to have more of these explanations of things that happen related to French culture, and I will be making more videos reliés aux Jeux Olympiques, related to the Olympic Games. Merci beaucoup et à bientôt.